Have you ever wondered what lurks in the deep, dark ocean? For centuries, the sea's surface was the ultimate battlefield. But what if the greatest threat wasn't the ship you could see, but the one you couldn't? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating and fearsome history of submarine warfare, tracing the evolution of these silent killers beneath the waves. Our story begins long before the sleek, powerful subs of today. Believe it or not, the concept of a submersible vessel dates back to the 16th century. In 1578, an English mathematician named William Bourne designed a prototype for a submarine. It was essentially a wooden vessel wrapped in waterproofed leather, designed to be rowed underwater. It was never built, but the idea was planted. The first submersible to actually see combat was the American Turtle. During the Revolutionary War in 1776, this one-man hand-crank contraption looked like a giant wooden egg. Its mission: to attach a mine to the hull of a British warship in New York Harbor. The pilot, Ezra Lee, managed to get underneath the HMS Eagle, but he couldn't drill through its copper-plated hull to attach the explosive. The mission failed, but it was a revolutionary first attempt, proved that underwater attacks were not just a fantasy. Fast forward to the American Civil War, the Confederate States developed the HL Hunley. This vessel was also hand-cranked, powered by a crew of 8 men. It was cramped, dangerous, and tragically sank twice during trials, killing 13 crew members. Yet, they persisted. On a cold February night in 1864, the Hunley made history. It successfully sank the Union sloop of war, the USS Housatonic. Using a spar torpedo, essentially a bomb on a long stick, this was the first time a submarine had ever successfully sunk an enemy ship in combat, but victory came at a terrible cost. The Hunley and its entire crew were lost shortly after the attack, its wreck not discovered until 1995. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw rapid technological advancements. Inventors like John Philip Holland and Simon Lake pioneered designs that moved away from human power. They introduced gasoline engines for surface travel and electric motors for underwater propulsion, a hybrid system that would define submarines for the next 50 years. These new submarines could travel further, dive deeper, and stay submerged longer. Nations around the world began to see the strategic potential of these underwater weapons. Then came World War I, the conflict that truly unleashed the submarine as a major force in naval warfare. Germany, in particular, embraced the U-boat, or undersea boot, as a key part of its strategy. Initially, U-boats followed traditional naval rules, surfacing to warn merchant ships before sinking them. But as the war intensified, Germany declared a policy of unrestricted submarine warfare. They would sink any ship, military or civilian, in the war zone without warning. This had devastating consequences. The most infamous incident was the sinking of the British passenger liner Lusitania in 1915. A single torpedo from the UTTT sent the ship to the bottom in just 18 minutes, claiming nearly 1,200 lives, including 128 Americans. The sinking caused international outrage and played a significant role in turning public opinion in the United States against Germany, eventually leading to America's entry into the war. To counter the U-boat menace, the Allies developed new tactics and technologies. Hydrophones, early underwater listening devices, were used to detect the sound of submarine engines. Depth charges, powerful underwater bombs, were created to attack submerged U-boats. Convoys were organized, with merchant ships traveling in large groups protected by warships. This made it much harder for a lone U-boat to pick off targets. By the end of the war, the submarine had proven its deadliness, sinking thousands of ships. But the Allies had also developed the basic principles of anti-submarine warfare. If World War I was the submarine's coming of age, World War II was its prime. Submarine technology had improved dramatically. German U-boats were faster, had a longer range, and carried more torpedoes. Under the command of Admiral Karl Dönitz, the German U-boat fleet waged a brutal campaign in the Atlantic, aiming to sever the vital supply lines between North America and Britain. Dönitz developed the Wolfpack tactic. Instead of attacking alone, multiple U-boats would coordinate their attacks on convoys, overwhelming the escorts, often under the cover of night. For the first few years of the war, the Wolfpacks were incredibly successful. This period was known as the happy time for U-boat crews, as they sank ships with terrifying efficiency. The Battle of the Atlantic, became the longest continuous military campaign of the war, a life-or-death struggle for control of the seas. The Allies were pushed to the brink. But once again, innovation turned the tide. They improved their convoy tactics and escort ships. Air power became crucial, with long-range patrol bombers hunting U-boats on the surface. But the real game-changers were technological breakthroughs. Radar allowed ships and planes to detect surfaced U-boats from miles away, even at night or in fog. High-frequency direction finding, or HFDUF, could pinpoint the location of a U-boat by intercepting its radio transmissions. And the breaking of the German Enigma code allowed the Allies to read the U-boat's secret messages, giving them vital intelligence on their positions and plans. Germany tried to fight back with new technology of its own, like the snorkel, which allowed U-boats to run their diesel engines while submerged at periscope depth. They also developed the revolutionary Type 21 Electroboot, a submarine with a streamlined design and massive battery capacity, allowing for much higher underwater speed and endurance. It was the first true modern submarine, designed to operate primarily underwater, but these innovations came too late. By 1943, the tide had turned, and the Allies gained the upper hand in the Battle of the Atlantic. In the Pacific, the United States Navy's submarine force played an equally decisive role. American subs, like the Nautilus and Ballistic, were large, long-range boats that waged a devastating campaign against Japanese shipping. They targeted not just warships, but also the merchant fleet that carried essential resources like oil, rubber, and food to Japan. By the end of the war, the U.S. submarine force, which made up less than 2% of the Navy, had sunk over 30% of Japan's Navy and a staggering 60% of its merchant fleet. They effectively strangled Japan's war economy and crippled its ability to fight. The end of World War II brought the dawn of a new era, the Cold War and the nuclear age. This is where submarine design took its most significant leap forward. In 1954, the United States launched the USS Nautilus, the world's first nuclear-powered submarine. This was a complete paradigm shift. A nuclear reactor could run for years without refueling. It didn't need air, meaning a nuclear submarine could stay submerged for months at a time. Its endurance was limited only by the crew's food supply and morale. Suddenly, the submarine was no longer just a ship that could hide underwater for a while. It was a true submersible, a creature of the deep. It could travel faster underwater than on the surface, and its range was virtually unlimited. The Nautilus famously traveled from the Pacific to the Atlantic by passing under the North Pole ice cap, a journey impossible for any conventional vessel. But the real terror of the Cold War submarine was its armament. Both the US and the Soviet Union developed submarine-launched ballistic missiles, or SLBMs. These were nuclear-tipped missiles that could be fired from a submerged submarine thousands of miles from its target. These boomers, as they were called, became the most survivable leg of the nuclear triad. They could hide in the vastness of the ocean, their locations unknown, ready to unleash a retaliatory strike at a moment's notice. They were the ultimate deterrent, a silent, invisible guarantee of mutually assured destruction. Alongside the ballistic missile submarines, both sides also developed nuclear-powered attack submarines. These hunter-killers were designed to hunt and destroy enemy submarines and surface ships. This led to a tense underwater cat-and-mouse game played out in secret beneath the waves. Soviet and American subs would stalk each other for weeks on end, testing each other's technology, tactics, and nerve. It was a silent, hidden front line of the Cold War, where a single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Today, in the 21st century, the submarine remains one of the most powerful and strategic assets in any major navy. Modern submarines are technological marvels. They are coated in anechoic tiles to absorb sonar signals, making them incredibly quiet and difficult to detect. Their sonar systems are more powerful than ever, able to listen for the faintest sounds from miles away. They are no longer just torpedo and missile platforms. They can launch cruise missiles for land attack missions, deploy special forces, and gather intelligence. The future of submarine warfare is already taking shape. We're seeing the development of unmanned underwater vehicles, or UUVs, essentially drone submarines. These can perform dangerous missions like mine clearing or surveillance without risking human lives. There is also research into new forms of propulsion and even more advanced stealth technologies to make submarines even quieter and more invisible. From a hand-cranked wooden egg to a nuclear-powered leviathan carrying city-destroying weapons, the submarine's journey has been one of relentless innovation and terrifying power. It transformed naval warfare, shifting the focus from the visible battle on the surface to the invisible struggle in the depths. These silent killers have shaped history, held the world at the brink of nuclear war, and continue to be a symbol of ultimate stealth and power. The ocean is vast and deep, and as long as nations compete for control of the seas, the silent service will continue to patrol its darkest corners. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the history of submarine warfare. If you found this journey as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into military history and technology. Let us know in the comments what piece of submarine history you find most incredible. See you next time.